everyone, I'm Kristen, and this is the Queen City Yarn Dying to Knit podcast. This is episode 4. I'm coming to you from just south of Charlotte in South Carolina, and I'm here to talk about all of the knitting things. This is a podcast about the fiber arts and my adventures in making things, and I am a knitter, big time knitter, and so I have lots and lots of knitting to talk about. I have some dyeing to talk about with Queen City Yarn, which is my hand-dyed yarn company with my friend Janice. And yeah, I am a mom of 2. Thankfully, they are at sports camp today. They have been this week. Today's Thursday, and it's a Monday through Thursday thing, so today's the last day. And while it's only just 3 hours every day, it seems like a lot of time when they're not gone anytime. So I've been able to get so much stuff done. So I have lots and lots to talk to you about today. This is probably going to be a little bit longer of a podcast than usual. I've been about between 40 and 45 minutes, I think, for the last 3 podcasts. But I have lots of stuff to talk about, so this one might be a little bit longer. So grab a cup of something and you're knitting, and let's chat. I have some coffee because it's morning, and I love coffee, and one of my favorite Jenny the Potter mugs. It's got a crab and a spaceship, which makes me super happy, and a sheep. So anyway, I love Jenny the Potter mugs, and she's just... Her work is beautiful, and she's also a really, really just awesome person. I see her at Maryland Sheep and Wool when I go, whenever I can get there. And a couple years ago, I took my kids, and so I had my daughter with me, Caitlin, and she just absolutely loves everything knitting. I mean, she's been fully immersed in it since she was born. So, but when we went to the Jenny the Potter booth, I bought myself a yarn bowl as a decorative accessory for my living room. That was because we had just bought our house. So I was like, oh, well, I need to, decorate, and this is what I'm going to decorate with it. Anyway, it's beautiful. I'll show you sometime. But so I was buying that yarn bowl, and my daughter was with me, and she will talk to anybody for like as long as they will keep looking at her, and especially when it comes to knitting and stuff, because she knows like everything there is to know about knitting and yarn and accessories and needles and yarn bowls and all this. So anyway, she was chatting with Jenny the Potter, and she was just so kind. She gave her a little crab stitch marker, which she put on a necklace and wears proudly. And it's like, Jenny the Potter gave me this. So anyway, just a little aside about my mug. So anyway, let's get started. So you can find out more about me, my projects, on Instagram. I am Kristen C. That's CHRISTENC. And I also post under Queen City Yarn. And then also I'm on Ravelry as Kristen, CHRISTEN. And I also started a Queen City Yarn Ravelry group where I will post some basic show notes with links to the things that I talk about in the podcast. So pop on over there and say hi. So let's get started talking about the knitting. I'll talk about some not so finished objects because that just seems to be the theme with me this summer. My knitting is going good, like I'm enjoying it, but it seems like everything I do is requiring modifications. So I'll talk about the things that are off the needles, but not necessarily finished. I'm going to talk about what's on the needles and what I'm currently working on, and then some things that are coming up next on my needles that I'm really excited about, and then some Queen City Yarn chat to let you know what's going on with my hand-dyed yarn business. So let's start with like the faux show, which is again like a sort of faux show. That's what happened last time I podcasted, and it's a continuing theme this time. The first thing though is like a sort of on purpose. So I finished the socks that I was knitting for my husband out of Blue Moon Fiber Arts lightweight socks that rock lightweight in the 3 colorway, and they're just shorty socks. So this is the one I've shown before. And it just has the regular wedge toe. There, you can see a little better on this side. So it's just the regular wedge toe, which is the toe that I generally do for his socks. But I'm trying really hard to find out what his ideal sock is so that he will really enjoy. I mean, not that he doesn't enjoy all the socks that I knit for him, but anyway, I'm trying to, there's always room to learn, and I would love to have a perfect sock recipe for him. And then I think that I'll probably use it as well for his brothers for my Christmas knitting, because I'm hoping to knit the guys' socks this year, which I did a couple years ago, or no, maybe 2 years ago. Yeah, because last year it was a fail. So the year before last, I made them socks. Some of them fit really well, others didn't, and I think it was the way I was constructing the socks. When I made them for all the boys, I had done all afterthought heel socks, which is easy for me to just knit a tube and then cut in a heel. It's easy to say, okay, this is going to be for Steven, and this is his length foot, so this is where I cut. So I don't really have to think about the knitting before or while I'm actually knitting the sock, like where I need to start doing things. But I do truly feel that a drop heel, like a heel flap and gusset, or in my case, the double gusset, which is my favorite, is really the best fitting sock. And so I think I'm going to do that for the boys this year. Well, don't hold me to it, but it's rolling around in my mind. Maybe at least a couple of them will get a pair of hand knit socks. I always knit my brother hand knit socks, and he loves them, and that's what he asks for Christmas every year and for his birthday, so he gets 2 pairs a year. My husband is the oldest of 4, so his 3 brothers also love hand knit things, and I'm thinking socks this year. So anyway, this was the one that I showed last week with the wedge toe and the double gusset, or last podcast, not last week. And then here's the other one that I finished. So the last time we chatted, I was working on the first gusset, I think. So I did finish both gussets, and you can see even here how it, it's on a sock blocker for my size foot, and his feet are bigger than mine, so it doesn't show as well. Maybe if I can pull it a little bit and actually show. But you can see the double gusset. So you have your regular heel flap and heel turn, and then with the double gusset, you do the decreases on the bottom of the foot, and it really sinks it up, right under. It kind of cups your heel. It's a really, really nice heel. If you haven't done it, but you'd like a drop heel or want to try and knit a little bit different type of sock, I highly recommend trying it. Like I said, my friend Christy is the one who designed it, and yeah, so you should definitely give it a try. But on this sock, I finished it off with, gosh, I'm having a hard time with the light here. I finished it off with a round toe, which is not hard to do. Not necessarily my favorite, and I think actually the toe is longer. I started it in the same spot, but it's a little longer of a toe than my wedge toe that I did on this sock. So I don't know. I hope it's going to fit him. He has really long toes. And the way that this toe is kind of shaped and it's a little bit longer, I feel like it might fit him better. So we'll see what he says. I'm going to have him try them on and let me know which toe he likes better, and then I'll switch out the other toe. And if this one turns out to be a little too long, I could always take it out and start it back just a little bit if this round toe ends up being his preferred toe. I think in the future when I knit this toe, I will knit one fewer round in between each decreases. And I think that will give me the length of toe, the 2-inch length of toe that I'm used to when making toes. So those are the husband socks. I'm really excited for him to try them on, and so I can find out what he likes the best. And then I can cast on new socks for him, which I already have something planned for casting on, some socks planned for casting on for him. I actually dyed a colorway specifically for him. I'll show it at the end when I talk about what's next on the needles. The other thing that I finished, sort of. Actually, finished twice, sort of, and it still needs a third finish, is my Greco tee. So this is the top that I was knitting along with my friends. It's out of Elizabeth Lavold Hempathy, and it's been washed and dried. You can probably tell. So I modified the pattern. The pattern is actually intended to be worn with this V in the back with little I-cord ties, which is super cute. And then it just has like this kind of boat neck kind of thing. But I prefer a V-neck, so I decided to turn mine around. And that's what I did. I added 2 additional stripes four additional stripes before splitting for the neckline and before splitting for the sleeves. And I split for the sleeves, and then because I was making it a V-neck, I didn't want it to be too low. So I actually I split in this section here, but I continued to work through that section and then up a few rows into the next stripe before I split the V. And it falls in a really nice place. I really like the way that the top fits. After I had finished it, so it used to end on this stripe with like a tiny little garter stitch roll or something. I put it on though after I wove in all the ends and washed it, and it was still too short. It came to above my shorts line, where like my waistline, and it just wasn't flattering. It was actually intended to have a little more positive ease and be a little bit more boxy. Mine didn't turn out that way, but it's okay. It still fits. It looks nice on. But I did end up I cut off the bottom little bit of, of green that was right under this, where it ended. And I added another stockinette stripe, and then I added a split garter hem. So the front is a little bit shorter than the back of the hem. And I seamed up just a little bit so it wouldn't be floppy, just like 2 rows of the garter here when I wove the ends in. So this one is the back and this one's the front, so it's just a little bit longer. I think it's a nice little detail. My friend Jan did that on hers. She actually did not have to lengthen hers, but it was something that she showed. I had started mine, I think, before her, or maybe I just didn't look at her notes before I started mine, and I really liked that split garter hem detail, and so I was really glad that I got to include that, because I think I would have had I thought about it before I cast on. So anyway, that's done. But this one, it needs more help, because the sleeves are too tight. Which seems to be like a running theme for me. I don't know. Like, what's my deal? Why are my sleeves too tight all the time? But I picked up at the wrong rate, and I think I picked up every other. I think I need to pick up, 2 for 3 or 3 for 4. I'm actually going to look at my gauge before I pick up the sleeves, which would have been a really great idea to do in the first place, but whatever. So that's going to happen. I just have to cut these sleeves off and then, re-pick up and re-knit. And I did change the sleeves from what was called for in the pattern. The pattern actually has like a longer sleeve that's probably about the length of the sleeves on the top that I'm wearing now, just a t-shirt. But there's some patterning, and I didn't want the sleeves to be that long. I wanted little cap sleeves. I like the length of these. I don't know. I'll lengthen them a little bit when I go back and do it. And I also will do more of the garter in the blue before I bind off, because right now it's looking like an I-cord. And because it's so short, it's rolling. That also has to do with the fact that it's too tight. So anyway, I just need to rip the sleeves off and re-knit those. So yeah, and I'm planning on doing that this week. I was thinking I'll do that maybe tonight. At least take the sleeves off and get one of them on the needles. And I have, thankfully I have plenty of yarn. I was concerned that I wouldn't after lengthening it, but I mean, I've got bits of balls. This one's almost a full skein, and then these two. So I've got plenty to lengthen it, the sleeves, fix the sleeves. So I'll probably just cut these off, and I probably wouldn't even unravel them, to be honest, because I think I have enough of the other. So that's the Greco, and like I said, done but not done. Maybe next time it'll be done, like for real done, and I'll be wearing it. I hope so. And then the other, not really FO, is my Wenlock, which I talked about last time. I finished it, and it was too tight under the arms. So I reblocked it, and that did help. I did gain a little bit of length in the raglan, and that also really opened up that lace. Oh, here's a stitch marker. I found a drop stitch. So I need to fix that when I go back and work on this again. But I did gain some length in the raglan. It does fit better, but it's most comfortable when it's sitting right like this. And the cast on to go around my shoulders, I have not wide shoulders, but wider than this sweater for sure. It's a little tight. And also, like here, my bra straps are over here, so it will absolutely show. And I tried on with a tank underneath, which is what I usually do with like a boat neck sweater, because I do like boat necks. So I usually will wear like a tank with wider straps, you know, because whatever. But I didn't love it with this. And I also still want to add the gray. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take the cast on edge off, which means I think I'm going to cut within this seed stitch, you know, a couple rows here, put the stitches back on the needles, and I'm going to work it up like a yoke. That's my plan. So it will be, the color work will be like to here, which I think is really pretty. And then, yeah, I haven't decided whether I will do only the gray or if I will use some of the colors, because I do have a little bit of each color left, but it'll continue to be modified. I don't know when, maybe closer to the fall, because I can't even wear it right now. And I have some summer things like the Greco that I really would love to be working on and have done so that I can actually wear them. So, but that's the update on the Wenlock. Thankfully, it does fit a little better, but it still does need modifications and a stitch picked up and woven in. So that's like all the things that are done, but still not done. So now let's talk about all the stuff that I'm working on. So I have been working on my Thanks Mom socks, which are the ones that ride around on my purse in this awesome bag that she made for me. So every time I knit on them, I think of her, which is awesome because she's awesome to think about. So anyway, I finished the first tube, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I stopped the tube, like the stockinette section of the tube, right after I finished this last stripe, and I did a couple of rows in that next colored stripe or speckled stripe, and then I did a sewn bind off, like a tubular bind off, which is my favorite for sock cuffs. I think it's like, it gives it like a really kind of sexy edge. It just looks pretty, and it's also, you know, nice and stretchy, and I feel like it's strong. It's actually my favorite bind off. Not my favorite to do because it's more involved, but it is my favorite bind off as far as how it looks and how it wears. So I got the first tube done, and I got the toe, and I got started on the second one. So these are just riding around in my purse. They're not getting a ton of love because I don't seem to have like time with the kids being home for the summer. Yeah, it's just not like a lot of time. I've been taking them outside a little bit, or taking the socks outside with me some when I take the kids out, and I'll just, while they're riding bikes or playing with their friends, I'll just be knitting on a sock, because otherwise it's just wasted time, you know. Well, you could be knitting. You gotta always be knitting when you can't be knitting. So those are the socks on my purse. The next socks are the socks in the car, which I didn't show last time because there wasn't much progress. There's been a little bit of progress because I've gotten to pick, I always leave early to pick the kids up because I'm super, from camp and stuff, super afraid of being late, even though we're 5 minutes away. I'm always like, oh my gosh, what if there's an accident, traffic? I'd rather be there early. And then plus there's coordinating time because you don't want to go in and get them early. So you just get to sit in the car and knit. So that's what I've been doing. So I finished the tube, the stockinette section of the tube, and I took it off of the 9-inch circulars and put it onto my 32-inch ChiaoGoo. I do not like knitting the ribbing on the 9-inch circular. It's just not comfortable for me. And so I put it back on my 32-inch to do the ribbing. So I literally just started that. There's one row of rib, but it's on the needles, back on the needles for the ribbing. And that should go pretty quick. I have 4 stripes of ribbing, and then I'll do 2 rows in the next color and then do the sewn bind off, that tubular sewn bind off. So that's what's happening with the Christmas socks. They're still living in my Christmas Java Jenny bag, which is, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll actually finish them in July like I said I would. That would be cool. I really want these to be for me, so I think they're going to be. But the other socks that I'm working on, I think I'll make Christmas presents because that makes me feel very virtuous to actually be working on Christmas presents. And I do want to get some stuff done in July for Christmas so that I don't hate myself in November. When it's cold out and I want to be I want to cast on a new sweater, but Christmas gifts, and I don't want to be a fail this year again. So we'll see. We will see how that goes. Big plans and all. Okay, so the next thing I'll talk to you about is the sweater that I'm working on, and that is my flax. It's living in my fringe bag with all my pins and the dabbing sheep and all that fun stuff. So the last time I showed this, I was still working on the body, which, yeah, I'm done with the body, what? So, yeah, I was all the way here, maybe? Or maybe I put this here because I had an inch to go. That kind of looks like what it is. But anyway, I was in the body. I got it to the ribbing before we went up to the mountains for the trunk show at Black Mountain Yarn Shop. And things slowed down a little bit, which was, first of all, it was an amazing show. And it was so much fun. Thank you to everybody who came out. If you're watching, hi, it was awesome. It was so much fun. But anyway, so it kind of slowed down. It was busy in the morning, then it slowed down a little bit for lunch. And so I got my knitting out. And so I was just standing behind the table just knitting. And I got the ribbing done. I actually started binding off towards the end of the show. And yeah, so I finished the bind off once we got back to our hotel room. My husband and I stayed in Asheville that weekend, and we did the Biltmore, which was so much fun. We had been we'd been wanting to go and see the Biltmore since we moved down here 6 years ago. But we have little kids, and we didn't want to take them. And yeah, this was really our first opportunity, and it worked out so well with the trunk show being up there. And so yeah, we spent the weekend up there. It was amazing. But anyway, we got back to the hotel after the trunk show, and I bound off the body. And it, yeah, so I immediately put a sleeve on the needles because I was like, I do not want this sweater to end up on Sleeve Island like so many of my other sweaters do. So if the sleeve is on the needles, then it's going to be easy to pick up, just like a sock. It's like an arm sock, right? A sleeve. So this is where the stitches were held. And I actually, when I do a top-down sweater, like a raglan, and have the stitches on hold, I always leave my waist yarn in because then I can accurately measure the length or even count the rows if I want to, but I never really go that in depth. So when I put this one on the needles, I will leave that waist yarn in there so that I can measure them against each other. But I am working on the sleeve, and I just did my first decrease. So the end is in sight. If it gets worked on, it'll be done, right? So that's what's happening with my flax. And I tried it on after I bound off the body, and I really love the fit. It's got enough positive ease around the midsection that it's really comfortable, but it's fitted enough that it looks like kind of tailored, which it should be because I'm knitting it for myself. So that's my flax, and that's in our in the Queen City Yarn Queen's Road base, which is our MCN base, superwash merino, cashmere, and nylon. And it is just a dream to knit with. And this is our Mint to Be colorway, which I love. So that's my flax, my progress on my flax. And then, let's see, the next thing to talk about, and the last thing I have to talk about, is the blanket that I'm making for my nephew who's coming in October. So I'm knitting this. It's colorwork baby blanket, like the one similar to in style to the ones that I made my kids, and all of my nieces and nephews to come will be getting a hand knit blanket. This might be the last swing ring weight one though. I'm definitely not going to have it done for the baby shower, which is the 21st of July. But I think that's okay. I will show it to Daniel and Megan and Adeline, which is Megan's daughter. And so it won't be a surprise after the shower, but I will show it to them and they'll see me working on it when I'm visiting. So I'm using Woolmize Pure, which is what I used for my kids' blankets. And I'm using ChiaoGoo needles, 2.75 millimeter. And this is my own pattern. So the last time we chatted, I was working on these little raccoons, and I was not enjoying it. They turned out really good. I've steamed the blanket, quite a bit of the blanket, just to see how everything was looking, and I'm really happy with how they turned out. I did change the chart some. There was supposed to be some gray that came down here. I still like him. I think he looks like a raccoon, and I'm really pleased with how he turned out. I think my brother-in-law and sister-in-law will really love it. Janice, I was knitting this one day when we were having a meeting for Queen City. We're meeting at a coffee shop, and I was knitting on it. And I told her, showed her how I had changed the raccoon, and she was like, yeah, he just kind of looks like a ninja raccoon. Like, well, that's appropriate, I think, for a little boy. I know my little boy Ryan is all about ninjas, not so much about raccoons, but if I was to give him or show him the ninja raccoon, he probably would be all about it. So anyway, I finished the raccoon chart, made the changes so that I wouldn't have more of those rows where it was more than two colors, because I did not enjoy that. I'm glad. I think the results look great, but that's not something that I want to do, like, really ever again. It was not fun. So then, after the raccoon chart, I did another one of the little gray bands of color work, and then I started these arrows, which I'm really happy with, and you can tell I've seamed it like up to about here. I can't. which hand is showing you where it's steamed? It's steamed to about up here. So it's looking really good. I mean, you can see this is kind of like wrinkly because it hasn't been steamed yet. But I started that, and then I let's turn it so you can see. I added his name, which his name is going to be Colton. And so I didn't personalize. Well, I mean, the blankets I made for my kids were personalized because I made them with them in mind, but I didn't put their names on them. And for some reason, I just really, really wanted to add his name. So I charted that out, and I'm really happy with the way it turned out. So his name is going to be Colton, and that's in there. So yay. And initially, I was going to put his full name, but then I decided I didn't want to do that. So I just did Colton, and I think it looks great. And then this sat just on the needles waiting to be worked on for probably a week almost, which I realized shouldn't have put it down for that long because I would have loved to get it done before the shower, but whatever. And I was going back and forth with the charts that I had kind of designed, and I just wasn't happy. I started a couple different ones above the orange, and I just wasn't happy with how it was looking. like the chart and then the color because I was using this green, which I am going to use. But it needed something in between it and the orange. So this is the green I'm going to end up using. So I decided to do these stripes. And a couple years ago, I knit a pair of like pants, legging kind of pants. And I did them in stripes like this, where it like starts with a wider stripe and then goes smaller, but in another color is going wider in between. And so I did some stripes. I thought this would be a lot quicker. And it does go quicker, a lot quicker than color work for me, just to be knitting around, knitting stripes. So anyway, I've done some blue. I have another row of another stripe of blue before this blue is going to be done. And then I'm going to do the green, some stripes with the green. And that's as far as I've thought it through so far. But yeah, it's going to be some stripes. And then I am going to do some more color work at the top of the blanket. This is just going to be like a striped section in the blanket. It's about halfway done. Let's see, where's the name at? As of like right here is half of the blanket. I think this blue stripe, that'll be half the blanket. I measured it against the blanket, the owl blanket that I made for my son, Ryan. And that's about the halfway mark. So I've got about half to do. So I was thinking, well, if I could do some stripes, that'll be super fast. And the stripes are potato chippy because it's like, oh, let me just finish this stripe. And oh, let me just start the next one. And so, yes, that's happening. It just needs to happen faster. But that's like all that's on my needles that I'm actively working on, because I have lots of things on the needles that I'm not so actively working on. But that's neither here nor there. I'll show them when I do work on them. So let's talk about what's happening next on my needles, because not that I don't have a lot of other socks scattered around, but I need to cast on new socks for my husband because I'm going to find out what his favorite sock is, and I'm going to be able to be like, oh, these are the best socks ever in the whole wide world because they're made exactly to fit you perfectly with your favorite toe and heel. I expect him to be like a cheerleader, like so excited about them, which he is, but he's not like, woohoo, new socks. He's like, hey, thanks. These are awesome. He is appreciative, but maybe not quite as enthusiastic as I am because I'm a little crazy, but it's all good. So the next socks are exciting. So I'm going to do them. They're going to be in this Eagles bag again because Eagles and my husband just totally goes together. But so I mentioned, I think last time, that my husband has like this serious love of sneakers, which is cool. He should collect something so that he doesn't be like, yarn stash. Because I collect yarn, obviously. This is most of it. That's not Queen City, because there's a whole closet full of Queen City yarn. So anyway, he got this pair of sneakers. He wore them when we went to Asheville, and he was super psyched that two like much older ladies commented on them and told them that he liked them. And I don't know if they really liked them or if they were just so loud that they had to look at them, because they're like all these grays, and then there's like the toe of them is like neon yellow, and he's really excited about them. I mean, they look cool. I don't have great taste in sneakers. He always teases me that my sneakers are boring. And he actually bought me a pair of sneakers for Christmas this year. So I do have one cool pair of sneakers, but they're not neon yellow. They're blue because I probably wouldn't wear neon yellow sneakers. But anyway, so we got this new pair of sneakers, and I was like, oh, I got to dye a colorway to go with your new sneakers. And he was like, yeah, you do. Like, you should totally do that. So on Tuesday, because it was not so humid, when the kids were at camp, I went out into the garage studio and I dyed this new colorway. And so it's like all these grays, which I love. I love grays. It's the easiest neutral for me. Like, I just totally love it. So it's all these different grays because the sneakers have grays on them, you know, like the sole and the back of them. And then I speckled it with this like neon yellow, and I totally love it. So there obviously is not as much yellow as is in his shoes, because I thought that'd be like a little too much. You know, unless you were really, really looking for some neon yellow, it was going to be too much. So anyway, I just put this like splash of speckles on there, and I really, really like how it turned out. He likes the colorway too, and so I need to wind this up, and so I can cast on when I find out what his favorite sock thing is. I guess I could cast on before because I only need to know about the toe, but whatever. Gives me a reason to put it off a little bit longer. So this is a new colorway that I designed with my husband's sneakers in mind. And so it's going to be called Sneak, which I think is a funny name. I like naming our yarns. Sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, what are we going to call this yarn? Like, what are we going to call this colorway? Sometimes it's inspired by the things that inspire us to diet, like Sneak. And I just think it's funny. It's a funny name. So this is going to be Sneak, or this is Sneak. And Janice has actually got the other skeins from the dye lot. She does the photography for Queen City because she knows how to do that stuff. She has a nice camera, or her husband has a nice camera that she uses, and she knows how to edit the photos and all that stuff to make them look true color-wise. So she's got the other skeins of the dye lot, and she's going to be taking pictures. And so Sneak will be up on our site soon. So that's coming up next. Or yes, that's the next thing on the needles. And then I'm going to do some swatching because Greco is like almost done. I mean, I just have to reknit the sleeves. So I need another summer top. And so I showed this a couple episodes ago. It's called Papyrus, and it's by Fibra Natura, say it fancy like. And it's 78% cotton, 22% silk. So this is what I'm going to use for the Riley tee, which is that striped V-neck boxy tee from Pom Pom summer 2018. And so I'm going to swatch for this because I'd really like to put this on the needles and take it with me when we travel in some weeks to go for the baby shower and the pig roast at the farm. So that's going to be getting swatched because while I'm not ready to cast on, I would love to be prepared so that when I am ready to cast on, I can just cast on and not have to swatch and then wash the swatch and then wait for it to dry. And patience is a virtue that I have found as a mom, but when it comes to knitting, I'm not super patient, which is why I have to like modify things because I'm like, oh, I'm just going to do this. And then it's like, oh, well, that didn't really work. So then I have to be okay with fixing it, which I am. So anyway, those are the next things that are coming up on my needles. And now I have to show one more thing. So my birthday has been like forever long, right? My birthday was May 13th. But yet, I still have another birthday present to show. One of my really good friends, Lori, and I met up for lunch. And her birthday is like the week after mine. So we exchanged gifts when we met up for lunch. And she gave me this super cute llama bag, which was funny because we both got each other like llama-themed things, which was funny. Like our birthday presents just like looked like they were made for each other, which is kind of cool because we kind of are like that. But anyway, she gave me this like crazy awesome self-striping from the Yarn Jar, and it's so bright and pretty, and I think this might be the next pair of socks on the needles for me. I just bought this sock pattern called like the best ribbed socks, or I wonder if I have it pulled up, the best self-striping ribbed socks in the world by Sockmatician. And so I mean, I know how to knit socks, and I usually don't buy sock patterns, like especially for like a ribbed sock, for like a patterned sock with charts or something like that, like lace or cables or a little more involved, like Christie's socks. Usually those are the kind of socks that I would like buy a pattern for because I have my own recipe that I knit socks, and generally I do, even if I'm using a pattern sock, I usually do my own cast on and cuff and heels and toes because I have the ones that I like and that I know, and that's just kind of autopilot what I do. But anyway, I bought that sock pattern because he's a podcaster, I guess. Like, I haven't watched the podcast, but I'm participating in Michelle from Actually Knitting is doing the Pal Cal, which is a podcaster along, knit along. And so I'm participating in that with my designs. So you can buy one, get one free for my designs with Pal Cal 2018. And then Queen City Yarn is also participating, and you get 10% off with that same code. And then Michelle, at the end of the Cal, will be giving away a $35 gift certificate to our Queen City Yarn Shop. So anyway, I wanted to participate in the Cal, and I do have tons of things, projects or patterns in my library and stuff like that from podcasters who are also designers. But I wanted to do socks, and I wanted to knit with this yarn. And so I thought, well, I'll just look and see if there's any kind of new sock patterns out there. And my friend Anne has knit sock patterns by the Sockmatician before, I believe. Maybe it was a different one, a different designer that she did. But anyway, it looked cool. And the thing is like 12 pages long, and it's full of tips for like making your sock the best and having jogless stripes and stuff like that, which I plan to read through and incorporate some of those things, because I'm not super worried about them matching perfectly or not seeing jogs, because whatever, self-striping socks are cool anyway. But yeah, I'm going to check it out, and that's how I'm going to be one of the ways I'm going to be participating knitting-wise in the Pal Cal. So anyway, this is more birthday yarn. I think this is the end of the birthday yarn. Let's be honest, it's been, over a month past my birthday. And while I love presents and yarn, I have a lot. And so anyway, yay! It's so bright and pretty. And there's a speckled stripe. I love speckles. Love speckles. Okay, so what else was I going to talk about? I talked about our trunk show in Black Mountain a little bit. We had a great time. It was so much fun. We got to meet so many people. Some of our friends came out to support us too, which is always nice. And I don't think you can have a bad time at Black Mountain Yarn Shop, to be quite honest. I love that place. So hopefully we'll be going back to do another one sometime. I just love working with Donna and Don, and it was amazing. And I had a great weekend with my husband up there in Asheville with no kids. It was great. So there's that. And then some other Queen City chat. Janice, my partner with Queen City, she just got back like on Tuesday from the Zombie Knit Apocalypse up in Rochester, Minnesota, where she went and she attended the retreat, which she'd wanted to do for a while. And so she was real excited to do that. And she got to like meet some people that she was like virtual friends with face to face. She got to meet Diane of the Suburban Stitcher, and I didn't realize that they hadn't met in person, because they chat and text, and I felt like they really knew each other. And I guess you kind of do know people virtually. I mean, it's very easy to make friends that way and have a connection with people. But so she finally got to meet Diane in real life, and Prairie Girl Sleazy and Prairie Girl Danny, and I don't know, lots of people. She has, we haven't had like that much time to sit and really just chat since then, because it's been work and inventory and all that kind of stuff, and Etsy updates. But yeah, she just got back from that, and she vended there in the marketplace with Queen City Yarn with the help of her husband Brian and our friend Jenny, who's Java Jenny from Kitchen Counter Crafter Bags, which obviously I have a thing for. So they vended Queen City, and they had a great time. They sold a ton of yarn. Lots and lots of Queen City yarn made it out into the world and into people's knitting bags and stashes, and that's really exciting. Yeah, so thank you for everyone who shopped Queen City. I wish I could have been there, but I was here with my family, and so maybe at a future show you'll get to see me. But you got to see Janice if you were there, and lucky you. So anyway, that was really cool. And so Janice, they have like a designer showcase, and Janice is also a knitwear designer. And so she showed off all of her designs, one of which is the perfect summer tee. And a lot of people were getting kits for that. So I have one, and I should have brought it over today, but I don't have it with me. I'm sure you'll see me wearing it, but now that I have it back. But she took mine with her too, because I test knit the design for her, and it's a great tee. It's a V-neck, but it's not like too low. It's a nice V-neck t-shirt, and it looks fitted, but it's comfortable. It's like a little bit oversized. Like there's a little bit of positive ease, and it's slightly A-lined, but it's really cute on. It's very, very comfortable. It's knit and fingering weight yarn, and so you choose a main color, and then she has this little pocket detail that you choose a coordinating color, like a mini skein for. And the pattern has you place the pocket like up here, like where my pocket is on this t-shirt. But I actually put mine down on the hip, and it looks so cute. And I really like it there. And then there's an I-cord bind off on the sleeves that uses the coordinating color as well. And anyway, it's just really cute. I'm really, really excited that so many people were excited about that pattern. And so we'll get to see some more of those knit up and some more Queen City colorways. So I'm really looking forward to that. So if you happen to have shopped and bought a kit and are knitting one, please share it, because I would love to see it. I just love seeing our yarns knit up. And speaking of that, there was also a new design release at the Zombie Knitpocalypse with our yarn. So we've worked with Corey, who's iRock Knits, a couple of times, and she just designed this new, it's a Pontini. I would wear it as a cowl. I don't really, it's designed to be worn, I would wear it like this, but it's designed to be worn like down over like this. It's called the Bada Bing Pontini. I really love it as a cowl because it is like, a little more fitted up here, and then it's open down here, and it just lays really nicely. Anyway, she designed this cowl, and it's knit up in our Plaza Midwood Bulky. And this color combination is blue topaz, and then the variegated is called A Night to Remember. So it's just a really fun, it's a quick project because it's in bulky weight yarn. I was thinking maybe I might work on some of these, maybe knit one of these as a Christmas gift for one of my sister-in-laws. So I think it's just really cute, and because of the way it fits, I really like it as a cowl. Like this, absolutely how I would wear it. But yeah, so that was released there, and we had kits for that. So that's another thing. If you're interested in it, I don't have the yarn kitted up in our shop, but I do have yarn to make kits with it. So so weird looking in the thing, and it's like the opposite, the way that you like. Anyway, I do have yarn to make up kits for this. So if you are interested in the Bada Bing Pontini, let me know if you need help choosing colors. You can just send me an Etsy combo, or yeah, and we can help you kit something up. But it's really pretty. It's these stripes, and there's like some texture, and this like looks like corrugated ribbing. I don't know. I haven't actually read through the pattern, so let me not pretend like I know what I'm talking about. But I do know that it's really pretty, and I would totally knit it. This was a sample that was knit by our friend Jenny, and I think she was a test knitter, or maybe she was just a sample knitter for us. But it's really pretty, and I'm digging it. So that is now, it's available on Ravelry. It's called the Bada Bing Pontini, and it's by iRock Knits, who is Corey. So that released, and then the other thing I want to chat about is two things: the Pal Cal, which, like I said, we're participating in, myself with my designs for Kristen Clement Designs on Ravelry, and also with Queen City Yarn. So that Cal runs from June 15th through August 15th, and If you want some more info about it, if you go to Ravelry and go to the Actually Knitting podcast group, there's lots of information there. There's threads about sponsors and coupon codes, and there's a chatter thread and an FO thread already. People are putting some beautiful things in there. So you should definitely check that out. And then the last thing I want to talk about is it's a new colorway, but it's because of this thing called the Tits Out Collective. And if you're on Instagram and you follow indie dyers or knitters, like, you've probably heard about this. So Countess Ablaze, who is an indie dyer, has started this initiative, or like this collective. And I guess she was contacted by somebody and asked to give yarn and time for nothing. And her response to that, she dyed up into a colorway and named it, "If I Want More Exposure, I'll Get My Tits Out." And this colorway may have been copied by someone, or I'm not quite sure. Anyway, she decided that she was going to share her idea, and she was going to, she told indie dyers, or she told everybody what colors dyes that she had used, and obviously she mixed them in her own way with whatever she did, and dyed this gorgeous colorway called "If I Want More Exposure, I'll Get My Tits Out." And then she invited indie dyers and pattern designers to work with her on this collective and make something inspired by what she had done. And then we'll give it our own name. And then everyone who's participating is going to donate a portion of the proceeds to a charity of their choice. And so Janice and I were really excited to hear about this idea, and we decided to participate. And so we have dyed this colorway, and we are calling it "If I Want More Exposure, I'll Get My Tits Out, Crown Town," which is our spin-off on her colorway. But it's a lovely colorway. It's purples and berry kind of pinks and yellow speckles, and anyway, I really, really love it. There's so many dyers are dyeing colorways inspired by the Countess Ablaze colorway. It's going to be amazing to see. I would love to see it all together. I'm following the hashtag on Instagram, and I'm constantly inspired by what other dyers are doing, and how it's amazing that we're all but we're all using the same or very similar, close to kind of dye colorways, just stock colorways. And everybody's mixing them in their own way with other things, with other colors, right? And then putting the color to the skeins. They're with their own techniques, and they're coming out, similar, but so different. There's nuances to everyone's dyeing techniques, and I'm really, really enjoying participating and seeing what other people are doing. Janice has the other skeins of this dye lot, and she's also taking kind of some glamour shots of it for us to post on Instagram to show off what we're doing. This colorway will go live in our shop on July 1st, along with, I think, over 150 other indie dyers are dyeing up yarns inspired by this collective. And so check Instagram. The hashtag is Tits Out Collective. And you can also search for "If I Want More Exposure, I'll Get My Tits Out," and check out Countess Ablaze. If you don't follow her already, her feed is gorgeous, and she's got so many beautiful colorways to offer. But yeah, so this is ours, Crown Town. And it's going to be released on July 1st. And we will have, this is on Sparkle. I don't know if the Sparkle is actually coming through, maybe. But this is on our Sparkle base, our Uptown Sparkle, which will have a few skeins ready to ship. But we're also going to open up a pre-order. And then we're going to be donating $5 of each skein that's sold to a local charity here in Charlotte called the Dove's Nest. And it's a recovery center for women and children. And that's something that really speaks to me individually. Before I had my children after college, I worked in doing substance abuse research up in Philly at the University of Penn and a nonprofit called the Treatment Research Institute. And I did that for a long time, and I really enjoyed it. I love helping people, and that was a way that I could really do that. And also, help make progress in the field, researching substance abuse and finding ways to help people overcome addiction. And so anyway, this is a place, the Dove's Nest is a place where women can get help with addiction and also deal with other things that likely go along with addiction and substance abuse. And it also provides support for their families and children. So that's the charity that we have chosen to donate to. And so we'll have this yarn for sale in our Etsy shop July 1st. We'll have pre-orders open. And on August 1st, we'll be making a donation to the Dove's Nest in Charlotte. So we're really excited about that. And I think that's all I have to chat about today. It's a longer episode. It's almost an hour. So hope you enjoyed it. I probably won't be podcasting again for a couple weeks. Today is the last day of the kids' camp, and they have an art camp coming up in a few weeks. So when they do that, I will record a podcast and get that up. Hopefully next time I will show Caitlin's knitting. She's been knitting this summer, and she is just loving it. She's knitting all by herself. She picked some beautiful pink Woolmize DK, and she picked a princess bag out of my bag stash, Disney princesses, and she is loving it. She's not knitting often or for very long stretches of time, but she's enjoying it when she does. And I was actually thinking maybe sometime I will record a little bit, just her and I, and let her show it off. And by saying a little bit, it'll probably be like half an hour long of her talking about her knitting because she's like me. She likes to talk, and she feels like an expert in the field. And she was just talk. So I'd like to do that sometime and let her show off her own knitting because she's really, really proud of it. She's really excited that she can now knit on her own. She can manage the needles. She knows what to do. So I would love to do that, but I didn't feel like I should show it today because it was a longer episode. And then my son's he's been crafting too. He's been doing clay models and stuff like that. We got him some clay for his birthday, which was the end of May. And it's like clay that will just dry in the air. You don't have to bake it or anything. And it's like foamy though. So it's kind of fun to play with, and it's not as messy as like the polymer clay. And anyway, so we've been having fun making clay figures. I made him a little Batman clay figure because he loves Batman. So, and I made Caitlin a unicorn, which was fun. So anyway, we've just been doing that, going to the pool and doing the kind of fun family stuff. Father's Day, we went to the pool on Saturday, but Sunday we filled up the kiddie pool at home with water. And then my husband had like 300 water balloons, those bunch of balloons things. And so we filled up, or he filled up 300 water balloons and then stood there like a champ and let the kids throw every single one of them at him. And I think he had as much fun as they did. And then the kids were, they were so good. They cleaned up all the little water balloon pieces and everything so that we wouldn't. The kids are very conscious of littering. That's something that I really try and talk to them about because I just think litter everywhere it's horrible. Obviously, it's not good, but it also looks really bad. And so I try and teach the kids to keep our planet beautiful and healthy and clean. And so they did a really great job of cleaning up too. And it took forever. I mean, the water balloon fight with 300 water balloons took like such a short amount of time for them all to be busted. And then the pickup was like 2 or 3 times that amount of time, but they did a great job and they had a lot of fun. So anyway, just an aside, that happened. So yeah, I think that's it. We are at an hour. So I hope that you have enjoyed the podcast. Stop on over to the